Hey there, welcome to episode 61 of the Caffe Genius Impresarios audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo. We are recording this on the afternoon of Thursday, April 25, 2024. Getting a jump on the normal production schedule lately. Trying to do it the day before. Startup life is hard. Speaking of, today's episode is about making a Vegas startup. This is already a work in progress, but the Impresarios audio program is supposed to be about local entrepreneurial innovators. Why not point the microphone back at me, since it's already pointing at me anyway. So here we go. Let's make a Vegas startup. The Caffe Genius Project is aimed at our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem of the greater Vegas area to analyze it, measure it, figure out what's working, what is not, and plot a path towards elevation to enable and encourage success, however we all define it. So let us talk about launching a startup into this ecosystem to pursue exactly that. Hopefully wherever you found your audio programs, such as this one, there is the episode description in which I have placed 4 links. 2 are the usual, 2 relevant. There's a lot of relevant links related to today's episode, sort of. Most of what this episode is about doesn't exist for you to try yet. Ideally, there will be a link to that in the coming weeks. My Buy Me a Coffee profile page, buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo, where you can find links to my various projects. You are under no obligation to buy me any coffees, although all of my projects are powered by coffee. There are links to my at this time 4 audio programs, mostly pointing to the Spotify for Podcasters profile page with a couple of places to find each. Let's Innovate for Vegas, Quaggling Sand, FFS Talk, and of course, Caffe Genius Impresarios. Give it a visit. When we ultimately launch our primary point of publication elements of the various websites for these projects, they will make an appearance there, of course. So you can always visit the buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo page to find my projects I contribute to, work on directly, etc. Same goes for coffee.com, ko-fi.com/DanHugo. Check it out. Although again, the main point of publication website and components to support publishing audio programs such as this is coming. That will be the best place to find information about the programs. These 2 sites, tools, platforms are useful as independent, external, or as I like to say, out of band vectors that point back to my work. So you can find those. You can find the individual websites directly, etc. And the thing that is the Vegas startup that we'll talk about today is going to be another way, maybe a more modern way of discovering not only local content creators like me here in the greater Vegas area or in other places perhaps, but where you can find information about a lot of things, as you will hear today. I've linked, again, I've talked about this before, I've linked to it before. It is an interesting presentation back in the old days from 2009 at Simon Sinek, Sinek. Start with Why. It was a TEDx talk, 2009. He was bringing some new ideas. His Start with Why book and talk have been around since then and before. So you've probably heard it, but it is in its original TEDx form back in the day. It is worth checking out, I think. If you are endeavoring to endeavor, it's an interesting take. If you go further down the path into infinite games and on all these things, he has a lot of interesting things to say. He says them a lot. As well, I've pointed once again to the official Vegas tourism data section, I guess, of the LVCVA. That's the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority website. So lvcva.com/research. If you're researching the demographics of tourism, those partaking in the fun economy or other here in the Greater Vegas area. You can check that out there. They're reasonably current. I think they're usually, they gather the data from the previous month and publish it. So reasonably, and that's reasonably consistent. During the pandemic, for example, it was delayed and the numbers were very different, but you can expect that. So generally speaking, last month, data for up to last month is usually available. So let's get to it. Let's start first with why, as Simon Sinek might say. A smart city is an interesting concept. The Las Vegas notion of the Greater Vegas area, being a smart city has fascinated me for the past several years. It is often a statement made, but not quite understood by the masses or even by the people making the statement, in my opinion, in my travels. As the art and science of information discovery and sharing become more of a thing. Wait, they already are because of social media, right? No. As it becomes easier to share this stuff because, let's face it, social media has essentially failed us. And since the real Silicon Valley has been a major part of that, the time, I believe, has come to address the gap between the likes of X and Facebook and LinkedIn, TikTok, etc., and the need to figure out what's going on around you, making the most use of what today would be called local news. So local media, local news, local information sharing, discovery, these are all not new ideas. But unfortunately, they're not as easy as they could be, in my opinion. It is the 21st century, after all. It is well within my nature to have ideas and to have enough curiosity and motivation to want to take a run at implementation, just to see if an idea works. I'm often asked, why are you doing this? How are you going to tell people about it? How is this going to work? I often have ideas that are better shown rather than described. I describe them and people are still at a loss. The notion that an idea works is interesting to me. So the usual presentation elements. What's your TAM? Well, it's maybe as many as 43 million people or more. I don't know. The gap is the problem, not the market size in this approach. So trying to solve a problem first that is easily identified. It's even making the headlines. Local news is doing even worse than national news. And you may have heard even infamous sites like the New York Times and the Washington Post are having troubles financially, reputationally, layoffs. It's been a thing. It's been in the news. You may not have found it. Nobody's writing about it anymore. They got laid off. But my definition of success here may be not what unicorn investors are looking for, but the plan is to deploy good ideas and to see if they work and to iterate until they do. So that makes it one plan, but with several pivot possibilities. You could say it's like multiple plans, I suppose. Eventually it will do what's intended, and we'll be able to measure that by seeing if some of the initial goals are being met or if the system is quote unquote working without trying to impress unicorn investors. We can try to make things that actually work for people, not for money. Although there is a monetization scheme, don't worry. Going into media, the media business, is a revisitation to an area where I have been before. And while I continue to create audio program like today, you are listening to one, hopefully. I think there's room for creativity and modernity, neither of which is getting exposure here to some 40 million visitors and about 2.3 million residents. We might have some interesting feedback. That is, we can develop this in a environment with a reasonable local resident population, the locals, but with another, I don't know about, it might really be 40 million people visiting each year based on the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority's numbers, so that some of the features of this platform would address those who are merely visiting. By the way, the Innovate for Vegas Foundation project for that part of it is called Welcome, an homage to the famous sign, which, by the way, is not in Las Vegas. Fun fact. So tackling this challenge here in Vegas with a wide and diverse audience from other places to give it a try now and then, and to build a platform, which I'll get into in a moment, that we can add things, quote unquote things, apps, applications, data to as we develop, as we iterate. I think we'll make it an interesting platform. And because people from other places will be trying it, and because it will be based on an open source software project or projects from the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, the possibility of deploying this in other places is also a real possibility, and one that we're actively going to pursue. Not for money so much as an improvement in local information discovery. So that's why, in a nutshell. The Everything app versus the Everything platform. So you've heard of the Everything app. If you've ever used WeChat, kind of everything works with WeChat. If you're going to pay money to something, if you're going to conduct business of any kind of various types and between various parties, WeChat has managed to insert itself in that whole process. Elon Musk has talked about the future of X being the Everything platform for the US. Banking, media sharing, content, et cetera, et cetera. These are interesting. The goal is to capture all of the eyeballs and to monetize that, to make a single unified application into a platform so that others may add features to it. And by the way, I don't know if you remember this, back in the day, Facebook fancied itself something similar where you could develop apps and games that could run on the Facebook platform. This is not nearly so popular anymore. In fact, Facebook has been consolidating some features and so on. They did away very quickly with the notion of what they called the open graph events, and even publishing events to the platform. They really wanted you to use the Facebook event scheme, not allow you to publish your events into the platform. So one of the concerns with an Everything app or website that wants to become an Everything platform is still self-serving. It becomes very expensive to participate and so on. So this is not automatically and magically solved by starting out as a platform, but it is something to be aware of, is how the business model of the Everything app as Everything platform may impact those contributing to or depending on the Everything platform. This is why, in my opinion, an open platform, an open source platform, and starting out as a platform is a variation on this theme, hopefully a good one. So by building a platform first, we adopt an approach that includes ideas from the beginning to have a platform on which applications can be run and integrated. If you have and by the way, not you must use this platform, but if it's a platform that is serving a smarter smart city, if it's more of an information and data, open data capture is one of our projects as well at the Innovate for Vegas Foundation. So if we can capture data like, one of my favorites to bring up is habitat encroachment. You may see posted in various places, there are more coyotes or scorpions or rattlesnakes or whatever in my neighborhood. Why is that? Maybe it correlates with water and habitat encroachment in general. Like there's not enough water, and there are houses where the food used to be, so animals have to come looking. That should be plotted on a map. That should be as available as the weather is daily, and I'm going to repeat that later, so fair warning. So the platform should provide information and should be capturing data from real people on the ground to build a better picture. Who knows better what's going on where you are than people like you? And sharing that in useful ways, capturing and analyzing that data, is something that never happens on a horrible website like Nextdoor, or on simple social media platforms like Twitter/X, or even Facebook, especially when these are siloed platforms. I don't know if you've noticed, but you mostly have to log in. You have to be a user of Twitter or X. So you must have already signed up to access a lot of things, and there's talk of charging to post for new signups and so on. It surprises me to this day that even federal government uses Twitter to engage with people. I guess that's one way, but it should not be the way. I don't know if it makes sense for a politician to start their own social media company. The stock market says probably not, but media that is not controlled by a central third party is interesting. So a federated platform, for example, something like Mastodon, open platforms that implement standards that can interoperate. So something like Matrix for chat and communication. These are interesting things on which to base a smart city scale platform. So that's the general direction. So by building this platform on open standards and trying to encourage interoperability and the ability to either directly or indirectly connect with other platforms and services. So for example, let's pick one. Suppose there is an organization in the Greater Vegas area that works with and manages and encourages and celebrates and promotes volunteer projects, and they have they have a website and they have a social media presence, and that's great. But social media presence is fleeting. You're competing with paid advertisement, paid placement, foodies. So you might get some attention, but you may not be discovered so easily, and you may not get even the visibility for people following you because the algorithm ultimately decides. But if that organization, and you know what, I can't even remember the name of it. There is exactly one, and I'm imagining it, but I don't know it because guess what? I don't visit their website. So brand awareness has given way to social media platforms, and that's unfortunate. So if we can integrate with the website easily with the website, think RSS feeds, but think in the modern times. RSS is cool. It's had its day. There are better ways. But anyway, so if that content, not quite like a news feed where you paste in a link to something and then you place a snarky comment above and people only read your snarky comment, never read the actual article. That breaks the entire system. That's one of the reasons social media doesn't work. So integration of the information on the website, not necessarily articles, but data, resources that can be added to maps and timelines and so on. So that's a sort of a broad and interesting, which means it will be a bit of an uphill climb, but that's where the smart city part comes from. Innovation in the information sharing space. It needs a lot of work. There's a lot of room. So platform versus app, it sounds like the same thing. But imagine Microsoft Windows as an everything app. At some point, Paul Allen and Bill Gates were like, "Hey, we could make this Windows thing really work. Let's get IBM to pay us a lot of money." So they start out with an operating system, and it quickly becomes an essential platform. Yeah, you never get fired for choosing Microsoft, I think is one of the old tropes. So when you consider that versus something like the Linux platform, which kind of works everywhere, you can build something around it, you can build something for it, you can run it in a lot of different places. It's become a platform of high utility rather than an everything app that becomes an essential platform of high profit. That example may not work for everyone, but that's where it is right now. So why Vegas? I've actually been asked this. Why stay in Vegas? Why do this here? Vegas is all about the fun economy, and trademark is pending on that, by the way. Since August of 2022, it's in the examination state. I've talked about this previously, and I've even linked to the USPTO search results page that point directly to the fun economy application and its status, applied for by the UNLV Office of Economic Development. Beaubernard et al. But it is also a region. That's why I usually say Greater Vegas, because the city of Las Vegas, it has an administrative boundary. Greater Vegas knows no bounds. And our local media has failed us, in my opinion. Social media has also failed us for the most part. That is, it's become something of a cesspool. I think that's difficult to argue against. The only real argument is, but it's how I get information. Okay. I guess if the only way to get something is to go to the worst parts of the internet and extract the little value that's there, so be it. All you're telling me is that there's room for something better. So Las Vegas, I think, has a lot of opportunity. If chaos is opportunity, as I often say it is, the challenge is real and meetable. From a business standpoint, there are roughly 40 million people visiting the Greater Vegas area, according to the LVCVA. I think it's closer to 38, maybe, but it depends. So we'll say 40. It's an easy round number, 40 million people. It's certainly more than 30. It represents a decent recovery from the pandemic times and the fun economy now that we've added professional sports, we being the people with all the money. Now that we have professional sports and soon a horrible, overpriced, publicly funded baseball stadium and team, there's only more reason for more people to come here. And hey, we'll have a train, not public transit. We'll have a train for commuter transit, those commuting from Las Vegas to Los Angeles or vice versa. So there's a lot of opportunity to engage with people from other places. What's going on in Vegas? There are all manner of websites and social media accounts right now that offer a sort of a fountain of information sprinkled with advertising, and good luck figuring out what's going on. An embarrassment of riches, our many information sources, and I place information in quotes. So there's a large, diverse audience to work with, especially if I can engage and iterate on features and details along the development path with these people. Our local journalism leaves much to be desired. Our local information resources, there are some good ones. There are some great ones. There's a lot of stuff going on in the Greater Vegas area. A lot of it is actually not so bad. Our local journalists, our local news outlets, our traditional local media tend to cover the crime, politics, stadiums. So bad news always makes the headlines. And good luck if you have a startup like, say, a local media company, getting anyone to recognize what you're working on, to even have any idea. Where do you make such announcements? If you contact the business journalists and say, hey, I have this thing. Do you want to do an article? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want, maybe. Good luck with that. So I call it a bottom-up approach. So working with people in the locality. If you're going to talk about a smarter, smart city, most people forget the people of the smarter, smart city. I have actually had conversations where I ask people, okay, you're working on smart city. What do you think is a smart city? And they go through a list of the litany of usual suspects: traffic monitoring, air quality, pollution, noise, economic. They'll pick a whole bunch of things, and I'll say, you never once mentioned the people in the smart city. You're talking about a lot of data, and probably about a business monetization scheme to make use of that data, to capture that data, etc. But I didn't hear you talk about people, making lives better, making the city better for the people, et cetera, et cetera. So that's often either presumed and then it never really happens, or it's simply left out. It's not on the radar. So keeping people informed, and especially including those very people in the information sharing and discovery process, is a critical component of a smarter, smart city. A smart city should not be done to the people living there. It should be for them, not done to them. And I won't even link to it, but Sidewalk Labs, Toronto, I've already talked about this previously in at least one of my programs, involve the people in the Smart City project. As well, who doesn't like a challenge? It has been profoundly difficult to locate co-founders and others who might be interested in taking on the status quo, on doing something interesting. for all of the talk of being an innovation hub here in the greater Vegas area, it is a challenge to find the people who are going to make up that hub. These conjure the words of Nietzsche and JFK as far as tackling the difficult or circumnavigating the impossible. Nietzsche said, that which does not kill me makes me stronger. JFK, of course, famous speech about going to the moon. We choose to go to the moon and these other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. I always like that excerpt because these other things refers to like one or two sentences prior where he talks about climbing mountains and so on. So when the excerpted quote is presented, these other things sounds kind of strange, but it's a good quote because that's why we're doing these things, because they're a challenge. That's how you make change. Take on that challenge. So why this approach? Why this type of project? LinkedIn has evolved to become the place for announcement engagement in city business, definitely in the city of Las Vegas and the greater Vegas region, especially if you're into entrepreneurialism or the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. You don't find a lot of people announcing on LinkedIn that they're opening a restaurant or a bar, even though there are plenty of those and always opportunities in that space. You'll find those announcements on places like Las Vegas Eater, Instagram. There's a DTLV Instagram account that tells such stories through pictures and video. So occasionally you'll see a mention in local news when they have 2 minutes to fill for a human interest story on our TV networks. Sometimes you'll see something in the Review Journal or the Las Vegas Sun. Good luck. So yeah, it's really difficult to figure out what's going on from the ground level, especially when it comes to startups, entrepreneurialism, depending on what you're doing and whether it is quote unquote interesting to those outlets. This makes for reinforcement of the silo insulation that I've talked about before, that's been discussed in research projects about the innovation economy, the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, and the economy that surrounds it in Nevada, and especially in Southern Nevada. So silo insulation, insular communities, insular projects, insular focus. You must be following people on LinkedIn to really, come across algorithmically focused information. If you're not following the right people, if they have blocked you, if you have blocked them, if you're not following the right pages, if the algorithm doesn't decide that you should find out about that volunteer organization in Nevada, then you may never. So you're relying on being shown what to follow, what to find out about, what to discover, rather than having the ability to decide for yourself. Story arcs get very little attention in this fast-paced, fun economy. Trademark pending. So if you're building a baseball stadium, which involves tearing down a resort, one of the oldest on the Las Vegas Strip, I want to say it's 56 years old. I didn't check that again, but I think it's 56 years old, 57, something. So tearing down, a lot of employees, a lot of reminiscing, a lot of sentiment. Seems so sad, but we're going to get a really not so great baseball team out of it. Also from Oakland, because the Oakland A's must always follow the Oakland Raiders wherever they end up, and always 2 or 3 steps behind. Not a fan of the A's. The Athletics. Maybe they'll stay in Sacramento. So if you're building a stadium or tearing down a resort, or you're committing some sort of a crime or committing some sort of politics, whatever the difference is, you may get some attention. Certainly our headlines here in the greater Vegas area are often focused on negativity. We'll occasionally see that someone won multiple jackpots. Good for them. So unless you're building a racetrack or screwing over small businesses with funneling money to the powers that be, that's Formula One, or you basically need to kill someone or run for office to get any real attention. So if you're just starting a new business, good luck. There may be about 100 or 200 people in this region of 2.3 million, Clark County essentially, 40 million visitors each year. Do you think they're going to find out about your startup? Probably not. Maybe. Generally speaking, local news is underserved. What does that mean? Innovation, in the way innovation is shared, is almost non-existent. I think most of the information sharing that goes on here in the Greater Vegas area, maybe there's a newsletter. Those are making a comeback thanks to Substack, especially if you're not a great person. Substack's gotten in some trouble for promoting some bad ideas and enabling them. But okay, Substack is one way. It's not the only way. Email has certainly been around. It gets a bad rap, but it still works, and everybody has it. So email information sharing, a newsletter / digest, summary, notifications of upcoming events, and so on. These are things. These are things that could work. But if you treat news reporting as though it were printed on paper, that is to say, if you present a story and your headline, your inverted pyramid, who, what, when, where, why, how, and then that's 20% of the story, and 80% of the story is background detail. You just keep presenting those over and over. Yes, you're getting the equivalent of column inches. You have inventory in which to place your advertising, your display, and click ads. Great. In order to keep up with what's going on, you must find these stories. The stories that are on the headline are salacious. The stories about those startups, where are those? So news, information sharing, especially if you are statutorily the papers of record, and if you look through the City of Las Vegas ordinances, I didn't look at North Las Vegas, Henderson, Boulder, nor at Clark County in general, but as far as the City of Las Vegas goes, and I was checking use of the city seal in political advertising, because one of the candidates running for mayor seemed to like to adorn his political campaign information with City of Las Vegas seal, which, guess what? There's a law against that. So if you look in that ordinance, same section, papers of record, according to city ordinance, the Las Vegas Sun and the Review Journal. So you would think they would have some sort of responsibility to report on real information that affects the real people that live here and who also visit here. But no, salacious. That's the way to go. So I think there's plenty of room to take advantage of modernity. I've given this example as well already. So, but I'll say it again. Weather is always reported at the top of pages. Look, it's going to be 85 today and sunny. There's usually a little weather bug, as they call it. So as well, you can include every day right next to that the current Lake Mead water level. Whenever you report on the water level of our main water source for the Greater Vegas area, if you only report on it when it's low, which has been a common occurrence in recent years, but then as soon as it starts going back up, you say, it's going back up, and then you stop reporting on it, then there's an impression left that, okay, problem solved. But if once the weather cools off, they don't say, okay, it's cooling off again, we're done. No more weather reporting until next season. That's not how that works. So if there's always an information dashboard approach to some of these daily life-altering factors, same could be said of traffic fatalities, pedestrian fatalities due to traffic flow, eventually the Brightline train project from Las Vegas to Rancho Cucamonga in California will have, maybe there's a progress report you build there. You could compare that against the quality of local transit, because it's more important that we service people visiting from the Los Angeles area to the Las Vegas area than it is servicing people who live and work, try to get around in the Las Vegas area. But I could comment on the local RTC, Regional Transit Commission, all day, and I will not. So there's a lot of ways that information can be shared effectively and usefully by getting away from the traditional print media style, which has merely moved to the digital format. We could take advantage of databases of open data. We can capture open data. I made reference to the habitat encroachment notion. The City of Las Vegas and Clark County are both paying an external entity to make use of a service called C-Click Fix. They've externalized issue reporting. So if you see a derelict vehicle or a blocked pedestrian byway, a sidewalk that is blocked. And by the way, you see this a lot. There's a construction project near me. I walk through it, I guess. you can walk for 100, 200, 300 yards, and then you will come upon a sidewalk blocked sign. Now, if I was in a wheelchair or otherwise not completely 100% ambulatory, and I've come all this way only to realize, oh, the sidewalk is blocked, I can't go around very easily because you just can't. No ramps, no easy way to get around. So you've discovered this hundreds of yards, and you get to re-experience those hundreds of yards to go back and to be able to cross the street and so on. Yeah, this is a real thing. Just production studio near a street. Just the ability to publish where accessibility issues, temporary or long-standing, and I have another one of those too. I have an intersection that is so poorly thought out. It is very clear that no one involved in public works or any sort of city planning ever consulted a person who might need to make use of a ramp and a crosswalk button. No one was ever consulted. That's painfully obvious. So a map, ways to discover these things, a way to say, hey, this is inaccessible if you are in need of ramps or flat surfaces, if you use wheels to get around, and so on and so on. So there's plenty of space, there's plenty of room to enable the people that live and make their communities, to enable them to share information in useful ways and to report it back to them, share it with others, etc. So yeah, I think there's a lot of room to bring modernity into the process. And the people, smart city, smart people. You can be a smart person if you have information at your disposal. So we can enable that. We don't have to talk at you as our local journalists and news sources do. This is an open source project. So the platform is going to be the deployment of one or more projects developed by civic volunteers and any organizations that want to contribute as well, starting with the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, of which I am the managing director. I guess that's some sort of disclosure. We all work for free. So I work on all the projects that we're working on and all that. It doesn't mean I work 40 hours a week on it, and I've not been spending as much time lately as I really should and want to. But completely civic volunteer powered, open source projects and so on. So everything we work on can be contributed to by others, not necessarily in the greater Vegas area, but beyond. Deploying open source software into a commercial monetizable product or service is not new, and allows for a compensation model for contributors of creative work. So if you are a civic volunteer and you've said, hey, I'm going to spend some of my time to work on this particular part of this platform to help information sharing regarding bicycle paths or beehives, habitat encroachment, accessibility, traffic, transit, DEI issues, inclusivity, and access, equity of access. You can take existing open data and talk about where businesses form and why are there no businesses forming in this area. Is it geographical? Is that a mountain? Is it access to water, access to internet, access to electricity? There are some projects I would like to pursue about how transit works and which areas are served more effectively. Some are less so. The people are over there, but all the buses run over here. How do those people over there get to over here? Uber and Lyft, I guess. So there's a lot of opportunity for open source projects and open source developers, civic volunteers, creative work contributions from individuals or organizations. And I've talked about this on the Innovate for Vegas, Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program, the Innovate for Vegas Foundation podcast, about the Code for America sunsetting of their brigade program, which means there are civic volunteers all over the country and suddenly don't have a support organization telling them what to do. So they can contribute to this project without being told what to do. What do they get for their troubles? Well, nothing about the My Muni project, for example, or the Welcome project, or the Smart Social project, or the Open Data Capture Platform project. None of those are Vegas specific. None of them say, oh, by the way, you have to be in Las Vegas to make this work. So everything we work on and we can try out on 2.3 million people who live here and 40 million, give or take, who visit here, everything we learn here can be applied elsewhere. So ideally, we'll end up with a modern take on a local information sharing platform that can be deployed anywhere, especially if you've taken the time to contribute to it. So kind of win-win. And again, not a new business model. It's been done. You are using open source software developed by unpaid volunteers right now. And if those volunteers have managed to get compensated maybe indirectly or through a deployed, commercial project, their open source project contributions are available for others to use. It's sort of a big, giant value for value model when you think about it. By deploying the platform based on contributions from local and non-local contributors and organizations, the hope is to demonstrate in our oasis in the desert the value proposition of this platform and this approach so that it may be interesting to deploy in other localities as well. What is our business model? Don't worry, we're getting to the end. This is still subject to some pivoting, of course. The business model can change, and there may not be one single monetization scheme. The business model in general, though, take open source software developed by civic volunteers, deploy it in a commercialized, monetizable platform deployment, and then compensate the people who contributed insofar as they are a part of that deployment project. That is to say, if you contributed once a year ago, there will be an attempt to somehow share value. If you're an ongoing contributor, if you're proactively engaged in deploying new apps, for example, or extending the platform or looking at how to deploy it in other places, if you want to be involved in something like this, then monetizing and sharing that with the people that make it possible is one of the fundamentals, right? Full attribution and, where possible, actual compensation. The actual monetization may take the form of a subscription, maybe display advertising, affiliate marketing advertising, some sort of rev share scheme. So click-through advertising, pay-per-click, for example. There's a lot of stuff. There are a lot of sort of accepted means out there today. We could maybe do some other possibilities because we will be a local first platform to work more closely with local businesses, especially startups, small business, big business, inclusion of local information directly from sources. I was mentioning that with the volunteer project, for example, volunteer website. So if you are already publishing information that no one ever comes across and you find that you need to have an Instagram account for anybody to have any idea what you're doing, then we have failed you as a society. Instagram doesn't care about you, by the way. Local civilian contributions, as opposed to full staff of local quote unquote journalists, makes some incentive program important here, whether it's an individual Patreon style model, or some other value for value model that is, and this has been tried at what is it called? There was AOL bought them. I'm totally spacing. There was an attempt to build, essentially it was local blogging platforms, and there is a Vegas instance of this. It'll come to me. I'll talk about it eventually. Maybe it'll be a part of our platform. Essentially, the plan was enable local journalism with these local, shake and bake, almost like a WordPress deployment. So you just go, oh, look, here's a new thing, and it's called the pad. The pad? I'm gonna pause real quick here. Oh, we're back. Okay, yeah, I found it. I was for some reason thinking it was the pod, the patch, of course, patch. So I think AOL bought them. I'm looking at the Las Vegas patch right now, so I'm not going to link to it. If you happen to be listening to this and you're curious, patch.com, that's literally PATCH, patch.com/Nevada/Las Vegas. You can search in at the top of the page, there's the patch name, and then there's a search box, so you can enter the name of a city and it'll pull it up. So Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'll read the front page. So this is like the home page of the Las Vegas patch. It's a news feed style, so really nothing new there. Las Vegas local news. Hate message vandalism shocks Las Vegas neighborhood. New visitor center to enhance Valley of Fire State Park. Hire a Las Vegas area pro to clean your home today. That's a native ad. Toilet paper roll under seat. That's another ad insert. North Las Vegas standoff ends in arrest. Oh, good. A story about crime. Pods Vegas shares storage hacks for apartment renters and homeowners. That has the smell of a native advertisement. It's not marked as sponsored, but maybe it's kind of a lifestyle thing. That is attributed to an individual person named Ava Hawley. These other articles are Patch, Local Business, Patch Team. Connecticut lawyer hip hops over the competition with celebrity billboards. Connecticut? I don't know. CT? What is a CT lawyer? Don't know. The site doesn't look very interesting as far as not a lot of effort has gone into making it usable. I didn't check the Y ARIA score. There's local events. As usual, they present local events not as a calendar, but as news items, which is ridiculous. So it's not an innovation platform. It's a feature. So I don't want to harp on that too much. But Patch has been around for a long time. It's an interesting idea. There's really nothing appealing. You may as well post to Instagram if you're going to do that. So tools of modernity, the news feed platform, the Facebook, even Twitter, this notion that everything you see will be presented to you in reverse chronological order, but usually reverse algorithmic order, trying to show you things that you will engage with for monetization purposes. It's been done. The fact that news is presented this way or discovered this way is a travesty. That means you only ever find salacious. You are rarely encouraged or enabled to discover things that will be of high utility to you. They are of high monetization value to the platform, the nature of the world. So the impoopification, which I will not link to yet again because I've thrown Cory Doctorow too much traffic from you, my audience. But you can check out Cory Doctorow in previous episodes here and elsewhere in my portfolio of audio programming. This is the way platforms go. They eventually turn into how can we take the maximal advantage of the audience we've established by sprinkling a minor amount of value on them in exchange for ad revenue. That's the most important thing in the world. Especially if you're a public company, fiduciary responsibility is not to you and your life. It is to investors. Being a platform from day zero, that means we start out with this in mind, not impoopification. The idea is to enable news and information to come from other places, not to require that you publish it on this platform. So integration, interoperability, federation, decentralization, all these things. Did I say blockchain? No, because I'm not a fan. So the blockchain is not an integral component out the gate. Will it have a place? Maybe. I don't know. The main idea, though, is if you are, for example, launching a company and you have a website, hopefully, own your brand, syndicate your content to the platform so that you can be discovered. Do you have to publish a picture according to our rules? No. Syndicate your information, your press releases, the story. Raising awareness is part of the challenge. Handing over your entire brand and making an algorithm responsible for who sees it is not serving your best interests. It's serving the best interests of the investors in that platform that doesn't even exist here. So if you bring back your local information sharing platform to local people being directly involved with it, now you can do things like, hey, we're underserving these geographical communities, these interest areas, these otherwise siloed communities. I use communities in the most literal sense in these cases. We're not covering things like habitat encroachment and water availability in the desert that we call Las Vegas. We should do that, right? So you can be responsive. And a platform approach means we can work with others in other places, and some people may need to deal with icy road conditions. And in Vegas, that's not so frequently a problem, right? So specific applications that can integrate into this platform notion will enable for local media, local information sharing, to share useful information in useful ways. And that is how we build a business that actually works for people. And then ideally, we'll have different ways of compensating people who contribute directly either to the platform implementation, that is like software, QA, testing, marketing, project management, or maybe to the content part. Maybe there will be actual content creators, journalist style, authors, people with bylines that will be directly part of, just like I referenced earlier, the patch team. So maybe we'll have actual people directly involved. It'd be cool to have a staff photographer, a staff writer, etc., with the names attached to those titles. I'm not really a fan of, someone wrote this, we're not sure who, we're just going to say staff. So attribution is a big thing. People being a part of something bigger, enabling and encouraging people in their local communities to be discovered so that the work that they are doing will be seen, so that they will be seen, et cetera, et cetera. You can take that literally or in the way people use that term now, which is how I was using it. Already existing monetization approach, advertising, et cetera. These are fine. And we can be creative as well. And hopefully that will further enable the Innovate for Vegas Foundation plans, which have included a labs deployment scheme and a value for value model to compensate civic volunteers for a couple of years now. So most of what I've said today has been an ongoing discussion and plans through this 501c3 organization that we call the Innovate for Vegas Foundation. So this business I'm starting is going to be a materialization of an open source project or a collection of projects for profit. And the idea is to enable compensation through something like value for value or maybe something else, TBD, for people who actually make this go. And right now, right now, there is one civic volunteer contributing to these projects, and when he's not doing a podcast. So hopefully we will draw in additional interest from faraway places and make this a open source project for multiple places, multiple people, multiple volunteers, multiple consumers, and see where it takes us. And that is starting a business, making a startup in Vegas, making a Vegas startup. When your notes scroll to the bottom and you have to scroll back up. So thank you for listening as always. Don't forget, I don't post frequently. I should post to the coffee.com platform more frequently. That will come with the original website primary point of publication launches. The information sharing platform I've described will attempt to aggregate and make more discoverable local media, local content creators. I know foodies have taken over Instagram, but if you want to find what real people are saying about a particular topic, who's creating, who has a podcast here in the Vegas area, where do you look? LinkedIn? Ugh. By the way, I've been posting show links on LinkedIn. Essentially zero engagement. Why? Who knows? The algorithm doesn't want to promote them. I have no control over that. If you want to find podcasts or content creators or whatever the name of that particular application module would be in this platform I'm describing, you should be able to do that. You should be able to find all the content creators doing YouTube or TikTok or who want to be discovered. And that's a question. Will it be opt-in or will it just go like a search engine? Will it just present a list of names? It's not my favorite way to go. So yeah, I want to find all of Norma Helly's content. So I want to figure out which hotels, which resorts she stayed at lately and what she says about different pizza restaurants. You shouldn't have to know who Norma Helly is beforehand to be able to find her. So hopefully you'll be able to discover the people that are doing these things. There's a lot of content creators in Vegas. So ideally the platforms that will service the 4 projects I have ongoing right now, these 4 audio programs, I have other stuff going on too. Those platforms should integrate in with this. That is really, to start, RSS feeds, but I think RSS needs to be deprecated. That's an argument for another time. And that is where I will leave it. Thank you so much for listening. As always, tell me your story. If you're starting a company in Vegas or if you have a startup or an entrepreneurial endeavor, you're aspirational, you're nascent, you're up and running. That's the point of this whole show. Hopefully the Impresario's audio program will become a part of this examination of the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem of the greater Vegas area, and we can help people discover it with this platform project, among other things. That is where I will leave it. Take care.